Right then, RPGaDay 2018. This is day 6, and yeah, day 5 I struggled with. I really wasn't sure what to answer. I think today's question is going to be a bit easier for me. So the question for day 6 is, how can players make a world seem real? So I am playing in quite a few games now, but until very recently, I've been running in more games than I've played in. So this is going to come from a games master's perspective rather than a player's perspective, I think. So I think the key thing they can do is buy into the world. We had a really remarkable scene. I think it's probably my favourite bit of the Call of Cthulhu campaign that I finished a few weeks ago. So it was set in 1926. It was set in London. It's been it was a lot of fun. The characters were all very different. We had I think at the point of the campaign that I'm thinking about, we hadn't had any characters die. So we had a British lord who was very rich. We had an aspiring detective. We had a guy who ran an antique shop. We had an author. And we've been playing for quite a long time. And the date in the game, not the date that we were playing, but the date in the game came round to Christmas. I think everybody went over to stay with one of Hillary's friends in Ireland, who later became a character in the game. And they spent Christmas. And in game, all the characters had come up with what they would have got for other characters for Christmas. And, like, you know, one of them, Hillary, bought Anvil a revolver, a really nice make, which was great. You know, there was something in game that he was going to use. But we had some really personal presents being swapped. Now, I think one of the reasons we did that was the game world did feel real to them, but that really helped. It was a really interesting thing to sit down for. Probably spent half an hour of game time on it, swapping presents, talking about what they'd done at Christmas. The whole world started to seem more real. I think it probably seems a bit weird to people that don't play, but there was that connection with the characters and with the world that was really good. So it's like an example, but I'm not sure that it's quite what you can do. But those kind of relationships, that kind of thinking about outside of the game, outside of the thing they're trying to do, just what would these people be thinking and doing, really helps. I think there's two things for me as a games master, though, that help me to make the world feel more real. And they are primarily, I think that the first thing is not to always make decisions which are optimal tactically. To sometimes make decisions based on what your character would be thinking, what their prejudices are. To be thinking about what that character thinks, what that character feels, and then making those decisions. I think there's certain games, one of the reasons why I like the Ubiquity game, Hollow Earth Expedition, Leagues of Adventure, that there is a mechanic that rewards characters for doing that. If you do something that may get you into trouble or may delay something, but it's what your characters will do, you will get, they call it a style point, and those style points can then be used to buy extra dice to make other things easier. So on the one hand, it means that you're treating the game a bit more like a game, but on the other hand, it actually helps you become more your character, because it gives you an incentive to behave like that character. So I think, like I say, not always taking the optimal decision, but taking the decision that the person you are supposed to be playing would take. That really helps. That helps the world become more real quite quickly. The other thing is really quite simple, but it's amazingly difficult to do, and that is to accept and even to embrace failure. I remember a friend of mine saying he tried to get into running some Dungeons and Dragons way back in the day, and all of his mates just wanted to ignore the dice, and they always wanted to succeed at anything, and they got really huffy whenever anything went wrong. And I can understand why you always want to succeed at everything. You say, my character's going to do this, and then you don't want to hear, well, they try and they fail. But actually, failure makes the story better. It makes the story deeper. All of the stories that I really love, normally the character tries to do something and something goes wrong and adversity sets in. And embracing that is really good. Now, your character can bitch and moan about it a lot, and that I'm absolutely fine with. But it detracts from the world when the players start moaning about things not happening the way they want, that what they were trying to do they couldn't do. And it's a balance. You don't want to shut the players down and stop them being able to do anything that they're trying to do. But when they try and do something and they fail at it, quite often because they've got a skill and they roll dice against that skill and it doesn't work, if the players embrace that and go, okay, that was interesting, so what does that then do? We now don't have this piece of information. We're now on our back foot. How do we get in? I think that really helps. I think that helps make the game more real, and it helps make the game more fun, although it's quite difficult to do. Anyway, I think I'm starting to ramble now. So yeah, I think my two big things are take decisions that are suboptimal, that aren't tactically the best option, and embrace it when things go wrong. When you've spent the time coming up with a plan and halfway through it suddenly dissolves, don't try and come up with another really tactically good plan. Deal with the fact that it's all evaporating around you, and just be your character trying to desperately claw that back together. There's more excitement in that, and it just makes for a more gripping story, which at the end of the day is what you're trying to be involved with. So yeah, okay. See you tomorrow for day 7.